Thank you for taking the time to do this interview. And I know looking at the clock, we got done just a little bit early. And I would like to ask if you guys would like to look at my eFolio just for the remaining time. And I can show you some things I did while I was at WITC. Great, thanks. So, in my eFolio, I made 4 sections which I added artifacts that corresponded with each section. And the first section is plan the operations of a business across functional areas. And in that section, I had 5 artifacts that I thought fit very well into this category. The first piece of artifact we're going to be looking at today is the Big Moose business plan. And with that assignment, I started up a restaurant that I thought would work well in the area I wanted it to be, and the location was right north of Hudson and North Hudson, right on 35. It was just a mile away from 94, and with those streets, 9,000 people would drive on 35 daily, and on 94, I-94, people would drive, 91,000 people would drive on that road daily across Hudson. So with that in mind, I thought just being a mile away from 94, that was a good location because people would be driving by, and if I ever got a chance to add advertisement on 94, people would drive a mile up the road to go eat at a steakhouse that felt like home, but just wasn't really home. It was just a good place to go with live music, good food, and homemade seasoning and barbecue, which we would make at the restaurant every day. And we also had to find a company or an area where we could buy all our food products and our ovens and refrigerators for the business, and just everything else we needed, seats, tables, windows, everything we needed. And with that in mind, we thought Costco would be pretty good just to start out with, to get all our food and stuff like that we needed at the time, and move our way up into a bigger company that could do it on a weekly basis. And we have a party room which can hold a nice group of people and just have like a reception in there, just big enough to have a party for a small group, big group, even maybe hold a wedding someday if we can extend it just big enough. We can have weddings there, and it was a good location for it. The next artifact I'm going to be showing is the training process, is the training program. Sorry. And that one is a PowerPoint we made in communication class, I'm pretty sure. And that one was about how to talk to customers, how to give them your verbal cues, nonverbal communication, greeting them with a great greeting with a hello, no small talk really, just enough to get the conversation moving with what can you help them with at your business or where you are. And just with your nonverbals, just don't really point. Some people find that offensive, so just having an open palm, showing them how to do that was something I talked about. And just having your nice clean clothes, matching everybody if you're not the manager, and if you're the manager, kind of being the same but just a little nicer to show that you are the manager on the shift at the time. And advertising, like when you're at the workplace, just what deals we have and what programs we are having right now with our company and what things you can benefit from. Also knowing our product, what we use in our popcorn or just any other thing that you use was good knowledge in case somebody is allergic to something. Like at the movie theater, we use coconut oil, not peanut oil, because a lot of people are allergic to peanuts, so everybody can have popcorn at the theater. That's just something we took in consideration, and everybody knows that at the theater. And just knowing where everything comes from, how to prepare it, how to do it right, and not contaminate the food when you are using it or making the food or transporting the food to the customer. Having a nice relationship with the management, just knowing them, how they work, understanding them. If they're talking to you in like a tone that seems bad, but like they aren't, they're just trying to tell you to get back on track and don't really get off the rails and just stay focused on your shift. Just knowing that stuff is a great communication thing to do. And conflict resolution, just knowing if there's any problems, knowing how to fix them, and how to understand the customers on what the problem is and tell them ways that you can fix it and give them a better experience at your workplace. The next section we are going to be looking at is organization resources to achieve the goals of the organization. And in that one, I have 4 artifacts in that one. And the first one we're going to be looking at is the final project proposal, which is the proposal to the Hudson 12 Theater where I work, and is to get a liquor license for the company because a lot of other theaters are using selling alcohol at the theater to bring in a little more variety of people for the weekends, and that's when the prime time is to sell them, is on the weekends at night, and just that's when all the sales mostly occur, and just understanding when people come in, have a great communication with them, and just knowing the risks of having alcohol at the theater, knowing what procedures to do if somebody's too drunk, or that they already had too much to drink, you don't serve them, and just knowing the risks of the alcohol at the theater. And the next section we're going to be looking at, or next artifact we're going to be looking at, is the memo. The memo is a letter I sent to Alex, who's my teacher, and it was to find which project I was going to do it on, which was what I just talked about in the last one, is the final project. And which one business I picked was the Milwaukee Burger, and I wanted to try to help fix their communication kind of with the company, with the community in Hudson, because they just started up at the time I made this project, and I feel like they weren't out there as much, and they could have had a bigger crowd right when they opened and stuff like that, and just moving them along and getting to know them as a company. And at KFC, I wanted to do a remodel because a lot of their stuff was getting outdated in the dining room area of the restaurant, and just fixing it up, giving it a nice touch, make it look nice and presentable for people that want to eat there. And the last one was the Hudson 12 Theater on getting a liquor license, which was the one we talked about on the last artifact. And just getting them a liquor license, building a bar, all that stuff, just getting them prepared for having a bar and understanding what risk and what stuff might come out of having a bar and all that stuff. The third section we are going to be looking at is the direct, individual, and or processes to meet organizational goals. And the first artifact we're going to be looking at is the HR handbook of a company. And in that artifact assignment that I did, I had to make a HR handbook which represented a company and making guidelines for certain occasions, putting in laws that may happen, so you can't fire certain people for being sick or pregnant or their age, any of that stuff. And also just knowing what injuries reports, and also if people do get injured, they have the opportunity to get workers' comp. So if they get injured on the job, they can get that opportunity and come talk to the HR manager, and they know what steps to do to get the workers' comp. And help goals to achieve with employees so that the workplace is a nice and healthy place to work at. So everybody is on the same track. Some people aren't being like rude, mean to certain employees. Just know that they can come talk to the HR and get everything situated so it's a nice and wonderful place to work when they're working, and not horrible and not want to work that certain day. They will help there's also an area where they will help the employee find what problems there are that can be fixed, like right away, or if it's going to take some time and stuff like that. The laws that we have in the handbook are Equal Pay Act, the Americans with Disability Act, so we can have people with disability work there and not get fired because of that, their disability. And yep. And having an HR person on staff at the area, and just understanding every person, know how they work and who they work well with, is also good, so that they don't get paired with people they do not work well with or do not communicate good enough, and so they can communicate with one person to communicate with another, just to understand what some problems are happening in the workplace. Requirements of new employees in the handbook must be done regularly because of most employees may and then the next artifact that I have is staffing. And in the staffing artifact, I had to pick out of certain things you could do, which was like staffing, training, supervising, and I think that was all. And with those ones, you had to pick the one you thought was the best and interesting to you. And I picked staffing because I feel like when you're doing the staffing processing, you get to understand the people, what they worked, like who they worked for and how they work together with other people, and also understanding what they did before this job and seeing what they want to do with this job, and understanding all that stuff before they get hired, and who they might work well with, and also people they might not work well with some things. Also, in that one, we talked about when hiring them, you got to learn what they want to get out of the company, and if they want to stay with the company and move up in the ladder, or just want to move along and also just get some experience, which is nice, getting experience moving up into a different company, getting just the minor experience in this certain area of the work. Staffing is much more important than I've ever would have thought, and gives me time to think about the company and what the company wants to do in the future with the employees it has, and how we're going to move forward with the company, and understanding that. And in the next section, control business processes. The first artifact we're going to be looking at is target marketing, which is an artifact where I learned how to understand target markets for certain companies. And in this one, we did Target. And the target range, or the target market for Target, we learned in class was women, head of household in I think it was 20-mile radius of the actual store. And they were middle-aged women, and that was the target area. And then some other strengths with that in mind. They have a 5% discount if you purchase certain things when you're shopping. It all depends on what they have. With other bargaining prices policies, like you can do the online checkup. They have like the discount store where they have like the dollar area. Their stores are very clean and nice, and just understanding how the business works to get their target market was that assignment. And yeah, the last one we're going to be looking at is the project management. And in that one, I made a project, which was the final project update, which was a project that I made for the theater to build a bar, and in that I had to find the values of each item that we were bringing into the theater for them to sell, and just knowing how long the project would take, how certain areas of doing the project would work out. So like when you're doing construction, you can't really do anything. So construction has to be done before installing the refrigerators and stuff like that, and installing the TVs. So you had to go step by step in the section, and knowing that, learning that, and understanding that was definitely very interesting, and learning how much money people actually use to remodel their areas and build add-ons or stuff like that. It really puts into mind of how much companies are putting into their company just to make it look nice and work good, just for them to make more money off of certain things, like the bar at the theater. They put a lot of money into that just to try to get more money out of it, which was a good business strategy. And for the last section here at the bottom, we have connections to strengths or outcomes, which is 10 strengths that I have with all these artifacts or homeworks I've done, and 2 of them would be in accounting, understanding understanding where the money is moving and where you're gaining money, where you're making the most money, where you're losing money, and just understanding where the money's coming in from was a good strength I've learned in accounting class, and I like that one a lot. The other one was communication, and just understanding and learning more about how to communicate to a unhappy customer or another employee, and just learning how to talk to them with respect and how you would want to be treated. And no, some things can't be changed or fixed, but you can try to do some other little action to make their day happy or better than what it has been. Like at a theater, if the movie goes off, you can tell them that you can give them like a VIP pass, which is a complimentary pass, for them to come back to another movie for free, which will give them incentive to come back to that movie, and they get to finish that movie that the projector stopped at, which is good, and they'll come back to that movie theater again. And in education, if you go to education and then you click on education history, there's a little document that I made which shows where I went to high school. I went to Hudson High School in Hudson, Wisconsin, and I lettered in academics 4 years. All 4 years I went from 2012 to 2016, and I got the Hudson Hockey Varsity Scholarship and the Carl Gilbert Reading Scholarship. Going out of high school, which is very nice and generous, and I thank all of them all the time. And then I went to University of River Falls for 1 year just to do general studies. And doing that, I understood it was a good school. I liked it a lot. It's just I didn't think it was for me at the time, and that's why I went to WITC and did 2 more years there to finish all my business degree off there, and just wanted it to get. I thought it was a better school and worked a lot better. Smaller classes, more one-on-one with teachers, and just getting to know students a little more because there's not as many in each class, which was nice. And I expect to graduate in May 2020 this year, which will be great. And in the coursework, I have my cover letter there, also my foundation of appraisal, thank you, Midwest 1, my job opportunities, social media, all that stuff to understand more about me. And in the photo gallery, I have photos of my family and Boy Scout, how I was an Eagle Scout and Boy Scout, the Hudson 12 Theater, me working there with all my friends and employees, and my senior year picture at the back of the yearbook to show all the all the respect and appreciation through everybody that's been there with me at the school, and starting a no hate about bullying with my sister, who started it all, and I helped her get it all started in the middle school, and she did at the high school. And I go to St. Michael's Church with my family. I had First Communion, all that stuff all there, confirmation, and adoration, and also just working at the food shelf. And that. Thank you for taking the time to go through my myefolio with me as we went through my business experience going through WITC. I would like to tell you about my internship that I did with the Hudson 12 Theater. And with that internship, I internshipped as a manager there. I've been working there for almost 2 years now. And I decided that I should do an internship there to see if I would like to become a manager there. And during the internship, I learned a lot more of how a manager works at a movie theater. I picked up on the little things before I started it, but when I actually started it, it was a lot of fun. I would come in the mornings and turn off the alarm, let people in, other employees, get everything started, start the popcorn, make sure all the inventory's correct, and then I would get all the money out of the safe and get it ready for the cashiers at the concessions and even at the box where they sell tickets, and just make sure everything's running okay, make sure movies are looking like they're going to start when they should start, and also just scheduling in the morning, getting everything ready, and then after that I would do some inventory with another manager. They would teach me for a little bit, like 3 shifts it took, just so I knew what I had to count, which was from candy, soda, our cups, paper bags, lids, straws, everything we'd use, light bulbs and all that stuff, even bags of seed. But Also, I learned how to work with the scheduling program we use to schedule our employees and what time they work through, and help with that just to give my input, see how things work. They let me try it out for a little bit, so I know how to do that. Also, learning how to work out the projections inside and out. If like a problem happens where it's corrupted, I know how to go up there and fix it. And also, if it turns off, I know how to turn it on and make sure it's correct. And also on time, if it is off time, know how to manually start it from the office, which has happened multiple times when this quarantine pandemic has been going on with other theaters closing down before us. They actually closed down our servers, so I had to sit in the office and manually start movies for 2 days. And then changing some of the procedures we would do with the coronavirus in here. We just didn't want to take any chances, so we changed our seating to 10 people only for 2 days in each theater, and they were all spread out in the theaters. And then we decided to close, and now we are selling popcorn at the theater. So you buy a ticket online, and then you come in to the theater, and you give them your phone, and they scan the ticket, and then you get your popcorn. And then we would wear masks when we would deliver the popcorn with our gloves on too, just so we didn't have any contamination with anybody in the store or in the movie theater with our customers that wanting to buy popcorn. And just cleaning the bathrooms whenever they needed to be cleaned, and wiping down computers, and just anything people would touch, like the door handles on all the doors we had, washing the concession stand table, the box office table, having hand sanitizer ready, and just making sure everybody would wash their hands every time they'd go to the bathroom or go in the back room. And and just making sure everybody's clean and ready for each customer, make sure that everybody's prepared, and everybody had to wear masks. And when we would close, we would all have to walk around and clean the seats and the bathroom every time we would close, so that this virus would stop spreading. If it did come into the theater, we would try to stop it and just make sure everything was clean, bathrooms, seats, wiped them all down, and just making sure we kept this in wrap. And then when we would close, I would close at night, and we would, after finishing cleaning and making sure everything's clean and ready for the next day, we would set the alarm, and that would be the day. Set the alarm for the doors in case people would come in. So that was about all. That is about all we had for the internship, and thank you for your time. And it was fun having you as my teacher in this class, and thank you.